19-year-old Lea Porter hasn't been heard from since visiting the apartment of a friend.
Oh my God! Ma'am, what's happening? What's your name? My little baby! That guy just admitted he killed my daughter! Who's your daughter? Lea Porter! I want to help you out, but I need you to calm down, okay? Oh my God! There's no way!
Just like Mom, Cody, and Dad loved you. Nobody loved you anymore or any less.
I'm telling you right now, I do not think you're a murderer.
I helped her get her window
I don't think that you're a bad person, and something got out of control, and we need to know where she's at.
All I want from you is a reason.
Lea Porter hasn't been heard from in over 24 hours by friends and family. They are extremely concerned about the whereabouts of the vulnerable young woman who has just broken up with a longtime boyfriend. She has failed to show up to a mutual friend of her brother's after the break. And now, police are questioning the last person they know she was in contact with. Chris Adam Waide.
I have read the reports of the previous officers that have talked to you, so I know a little bit about what you've said to them. Hopefully we won't have to go back through and repeat everything, because I'm sure you're really, really sick of just the whole thing. But I might cover some of the stuff that they've already talked about just to clarify and maybe to ask you a few more questions. That is your phone?
Yes.
But I think weren't they going to try and do a download on it too?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. That's just, it doesn't have enough battery to last.
It does, I think. I prefer to have it on me at all times.
Most people are feeling naked without their phone today, don't they?
It's not that I feel naked without it, it's just if I remembered anything or if someone needed to contact me for anything, because like I said with the student ambassadors, they have my number, so if they needed anything from me.
As a student ambassador at Everest College, what does that mean?
We act as kind of a liaison between the student populace and the faculty and staff. So a lot of the students don't like coming to the faculty with their problems. However, with the student ambassadors, we're all students. We can try to help them out to where they don't have to go and approach the staff or faculty with the problems.
So we see someone who, right at the start, is framing themselves as trustworthy. And he also showed a little bit of ego, saying, well, I'm studying criminal justice. I have an understanding of this.
They're being very cautious. They got permission to look in his laptop. I'm surprised they didn't take his phone. Maybe they've done that already to look at what they could find. So it looks like they've gone from initial stage investigation. They've obtained some details, and the one detective said, we're not going to go over all that. I'm sure you don't want to repeat that again. I think that's a tactic. I think they're going to be repeating lots of things over again. It's just a matter of what they pick and choose. He seems confident. He seems to be a mentor, and I think he's actually convinced them that I'm here to help you too.
I'm here to be compliant. I'm worried about this, and I want to be supportive, not just to my peers, but to you as well.
It would be interesting to see how they approach this fellow. He's going to be a little bit difficult to break. Roll the tape.
Who else did you talk to?
I remember one of them was Jesse. He said he was her ex-boyfriend. His side of the story was that he broke up with her because of the drugs.
So Jesse actually called you?
Yes.
What was his attitude like when you spoke to him?
He seemed very worried, but I think he was skeptical because he thought I had done something. But it seemed like he was under the impression that since I was the last person to see her, that I therefore must be the person that did something to her.
In the role as ambassador, he must have reached out to talk to the previous boyfriend who left her because of her addiction. And he's portraying that this fellow was suspicious of him because I was the last one who had contact with her. It's like he's explaining why there would be suspicion on me, but it's unfounded.
Well, and he's aligning that suspicion that somebody who is not as trustworthy and who has had a history with drugs.
In his position as being on the same team as the detectives, You know, he decided that this is kind of irrelevant. So he's going to be using this to his advantage as much as possible.
He's insinuating that he's investigated it also.
Yes.
That's what he's insinuating?
Does he actually confront you with that?
No.
Did you ever have any confrontational conversations with Max?
Not really confrontational, but when I first told him about the tarot reading...
You did a tarot reading while she was with you?
Yes.
Or before she left? Or after she left?
I did a tarot reading with her.
I mean, the fact that you're doing tarot cards could cause some people to freak out a little bit.
Yeah, it's not exactly something that's understood completely by everyone. My parents raised me as a Christian, but overall, that really wasn't the path for me. I decided to start looking around and seeing what else there was.
He's a fan of the unexplainable. He's effectively created his own unexplainable situation. There's really interesting parallels here.
They're going to start putting something back on him to make him answer some tough questions. So far, this has been him controlling what they are getting.
This looks like the type of individual that tapping into his ego. Roll the tape.
So I understand that she had been messaging you, telling you that her relationship was going bad, ask you about maybe having a place to stay. You agreed to let her do that.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Why would she ask you for a place to stay?
She didn't ask me, I offered it to her.
Okay.
And as far as it wasn't that it was going bad, it was that she had already broken up with her boyfriend. I asked her if she needed a place to stay or if she needed money or anything like that. She never asked me for money, but she did initially take me up on having a place to crash for a while until she got back on her feet. And then afterwards, she contacted me saying that she had found other arrangements.
Well, I take it that since you are considering yourself her accountability partner, that she also shared with you her drug problems.
Yes.
When did she start sharing that with you?
She shared that with me before I offered to be her accountability partner. She told me about the relationship and that there was drugs involved. I believe the one that she mentioned was heroin. And then I asked her, are you getting help for this? Would you like some more help? And I offered then to become her accountability partner.
What he's doing right now is describing the victim as someone who is vulnerable and was someone in a time of need. This is someone who's facing addiction. He would have very intimate knowledge of the kinds of things she's going through, as he's put it, the accountability partner. So she's confiding in him and trusting him with details that she likely wouldn't share with anyone else, maybe not even her family. So we see a person that has a lot of power, essentially. When you trust somebody with that kind of information, you're also trusting they're not going to be turning around and sharing it with everybody or using it to blackmail you. And so we're seeing him set up their relationship, what that dynamic was like.
He's inviting her into his life under his conditions.
Yeah, I'd say that's fairly accurate.
Have you had any experience doing that with anybody else?
Honestly, no, but when we were talking, I told her that it was a good idea to, get herself checked into someplace and get her on their radar as well, just for the extra accountability.
One of the reasons that you kind of came to the radar on this thing with the family is that they kind of think that maybe you were trying to take advantage of her.
No. I liked her, and don't get me wrong, she is a beautiful young woman, but in no way did I make any advances on her whatsoever.
Okay.
It's interesting how he has offered to be her accountability partner and to give her a place to live, to do all these things, and the family is suspicious of him taking advantage of her. So he's portraying her as this hapless drug addict, and the family, who know her very well, are saying he's taking advantage of her for some reason.
Maybe I'm not reading this right, but if she's depressed and this is the way she's feeling, why would she want to have sex with you?
I'm not 100% positive about this, and I didn't really ask her why she wanted to do it. I just asked her if she was sure she wanted to, because I'm just making sure that I wasn't taking advantage of her or anything like that, and told her that she had no obligation to me for anything like that. But I think that she was just trying to find some way to cheer herself back up.
How did all that start, the whole intercourse thing?
We were talking, she had just come back from the bathroom. We were just getting ready to get back into the video game, then she leaned in and kissed me. And I kissed back, but I tried to limit myself, would be the word, as to the intensity, I guess. So I was letting her go as far as she wanted. Then when it led to the bedroom, we kind of flip-flopped between who had the wheel.
Well, before you actually went into the bedroom, was there some discussion about having sex?
When she started taking off her sweater, I broke it off and I asked, "Are you sure about this? Is this, I'm not asking you to do this." I made it very clear that I was not wanting to impose that on her or any sort of implication towards her.
Did you end up using a condom?
No, I did not.
Chris Adam Waide is presenting himself to interrogators as a thoughtful, well-intentioned person who has nothing but concern for the missing Lea Porter. But he's revealed what investigators already know. Lea's family has some serious concerns about his motives and involvement with Lea.
He's indicating that in all probability, the sexual act was her suggestion. He's just complying to make her feel, what was the word he used? She wanted to feel happy?
Yes.
So he was helping her feel happy.
What a guy.
What?
Yes.
That
So,
he's- yeah.
and
that she consented the entire time and showed several signs of consent.
I made it very clear that I had no drugs or anything like that.
So she wasn't expecting to maybe get a fix?
No.
About money?
I offered it to her at the start, but she turned me down.
At the start of what?
There was a Facebook post on her wall, that's when this all started, that she needed help with something, but she didn't say what. Then I messaged her asking, "What do you need help with? Maybe I can help." She told me she had just broken up and that she was having to move out. And I asked, you have a place to stay, you need a place to stay, you need money or anything like that. And she said, thanks, but no thanks to the money, but that she could use a place to stay.
So once you got to your place, there was never a discussion about, I can give you some money or anything like that you needed?
No. And I started thinking, and she had that bag with her that she didn't let leave her side. If she went out to get something from her car, she would bring that with her.
What kind of bag are you talking about?
It was a purple bag. I think it was a Crown Royal bag.
So you're talking about one of those little velvet bags that they carry around for?
Yeah.
They're trying to ascertain what she was doing with her personal effects. Was she going to bring it and move in with him? Obviously, effects come with someone if they're going to move in and stay with you. So this is what he said. She wanted to come and live with me or stay with me. I think they're just trying to ascertain, how did she do this? What did she bring in? Where's those things that she brought from the vehicle? They're just trying to get a pattern here and see where the stuff is that he says she had. Because if it doesn't match, if there's nothing in the apartment, if the stuff is still in her car, then that's a lie.
Much of what the suspect has been saying up until now has been based on, well, I heard it from someone else, I didn't hear it from her directly, or, well, I deduced this from watching this person act in a certain way. He even said, well, it was based on a vibe. You can't be like, well, it was based on a vibe, Your Honor. Like, that doesn't hold up. So we need evidence here. And so they're digging around to see what they can find because he's being very evasive. He's not giving anything direct.
And he's given information through his denials.
An absence of information is information. So it's really great to see how the officers are taking this because he's very uncomfortable, but he's still talking. And as long as he's still talking, the police are going to continue with the interrogation. Let's keep rolling.
And in fact, you later looked in that bag.
Yes. Afterwards, I saw her drug paraphernalia.
Which included what?
It was a spoon that had burn marks on it. There were, I think, 3 syringes, and then there was a case with 2 or 3 razor blades in it.
Did you see any residue in there from dope?
I didn't really know what to look for with that. I probably should have. I only went through the Crown Royal bag. I didn't
So you found out while she was sleeping?
Yeah.
You woke her up?
Yeah, I woke her up very gently. I apologized to her because I had looked into the bag, but told her that I had looked into the bag and confronted her on what I had found.
What was her response to you violating her privacy?
After I explained myself to her, I think she was annoyed that I had done it without her permission, but I think she understood where I was coming from, because as I told her, I was worried about her. Not because I have any sort of physical or emotional attraction to her. I wouldn't mind if something like that developed in the future, but with friends, I tend to get more the kind of guy that has a few good friends as opposed to a lot of not so good friends. So I just wanted to make sure that she was okay.
So here's an individual who's telling us the nature of his relationship with her is one of control. He knows what's good for her. He knows what's best for her. He needed to invade her privacy to make sure that she was not having any illicit material. We're seeing a person who is very much in control of the people he's with. And in a situation like that, we're dealing with someone who probably has abandonment issues, rejection issues. And when he does finally get rejected by people for probably being too controlling, he takes it very hard. And I think that this is the dynamic we're going to see unfurled here.
I'm surprised he hasn't asked, why am I here? Why are you asking me all these questions? Am I a suspect? That hasn't come up, and it should at some point in the very near future. You don't just sit there and take a barrage of questions from law enforcement and not wonder, why am I here?
Well, I don't think he's perceiving the questioning from the police as a barrage of questions yet. And it's because they haven't been so direct with him in their line of questioning. They haven't said, did you do this? Were you implicated? That's kind of the subtext to it. I think that our suspect here is still under the impression that he can posit his own theories and pretend I'm on the same side as the police are. I'm here to help. I'm here as a willing participant in this system that I uphold.
Start to wonder pretty soon if it's going to kick in that I'm not just here to help.
Chris Adam Waide continues to lead investigators down a path into his version of events on June 3rd, 2014. But investigators are content to let him be their guide, knowing that the more he speaks, the more he has to remember.
What'd she say?
She was annoyed about it, but she accepted it. And I made sure that she understood that I was not angry with her for doing it or using, but that I was disappointed that she didn't come forward with that to me. I mean, she was annoyed, yes, but not irritated.
Did you tell her family that you had sex with her?
I told her brother, but when her mom called me, and that was the only time I really talked to her, she seemed like she was in enough of a state.
Why would you tell her brother that you had sex with his sister?
He was asking, is there anything else, is there anything else? I told him not to freak out, but that we did have sex. And he said that he understood that he didn't really blame me, and that was pretty much after that he dropped it.
It seems like kind of a random thing to be telling a girl's brother that you actually did from high school. And that doesn't seem to be
he was
consistent with what you normally do with people.
At first, he was kind of accusatory towards me. He was leaping to conclusions since I was the last one that had any sort of contact with her before she disappeared that meant that I was hiding something.
So he thought you were hiding something?
He thought I was hiding something bad, but I told him straight up it wasn't that I was hiding anything bad, it was just that I didn't want anyone to judge me because we had had sexual intercourse.
He made another slip, didn't he? I was the last to see her. I was the last person to have some contact with her. So we can see him becoming increasingly more agitated and nervous. He's going to make more mistakes as he keeps talking.
Well, and he's touching his face, he's covering his mouth. I think that's the first time we've seen that kind of escalate to covering his mouth. And he's also starting off by explaining that everyone who has a reaction to something he does is at first understanding. They understood why he did it. It made logical sense. And then when he's pushed on it a little bit, he's like, well, they were annoyed, you know, maybe not irritated, but kind of annoyed. The more you push, the more that escalates. So you wonder, what else is he hiding?
Well, the family's pretty concerned about this whole topic.
Yeah.
And you know, they're being accusatory towards us.
Yeah.
Directed at you, and they're upset at you about this whole thing. They think you took advantage of her.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they actually think that you did something to her.
Honestly, I don't know where that's coming from them. Yeah, I don't really know the mother all that well, but...
Well, let me tell you one place it's coming from.
Okay.
It's coming from family, friends, and people that know Renee.
Yeah.
Specifically related to your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Telling people things about fantasies that you had in high school.
Fantasies I had in high school?
I knew this had to happen. It was getting to the point where they had to do something like this to bring up that, what I call gotcha moment, and it stunned him. Your fantasies you had about her, it just put him back in his chair, and he's now silent. For the first time, he has no comeback.
But he's trying to look quizzical. The police aren't going to buy anything he's selling at this point.
The pressure's going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
Roll the tape.
Uh-huh. Well, there wasn't anything like that concerning Lee. And
how about just fantasies that maybe you might have shared with either your mother or other family members or people about what some of the fantasies might have been in high school?
honestly, my fantasy life is private. I keep that completely separate from my normal life.
And most people do, but
yeah.
This was enough that it was actually, it's out there. We have people telling us now that you had fantasies in high school of wanting to kill women and bury them in the woods.
Okay, remember back, but there were a couple of girls in high school that were, I guess tormenting me would be the right word. To put it lightly, I was the outcast, so I didn't really have all that many friends.
Was Lee and Max, would you have considered them friends?
Yes.
Why would they be your friends?
We hung out together since we were in different grades. I didn't really have very many classes with them together, but we hung out during lunch.
They accepted you for who you were?
To my knowledge, yes.
And other people didn't? Is that why you felt like you were the outcast?
Yeah.
In high school?
2 words that would describe me almost perfectly would be unorthodox and weird.
Well, he's been confronted with the reality of his fantasies, which he talked to people about killing someone and burying them in the woods. He's now got to come up with a reason as to why he said that, so it doesn't carry over into his present-day fantasy world that he lives in now. So he said, I was unorthodox or weird. That's how I describe myself. And he's trying to portray himself as someone who is different, a cast out in the community of the school he was in, picked on by girls. So he's trying to portray this as a logical fantasy to have when you're a loser. Mm-hmm. That's what I would call them in that era. You'd be a loser in school if you were in that group. So he's trying to say, this is why I felt that way about these girls. He's going to try to get away from that because it's leading directly to motive, opportunity. Everything is now shaping up that here's a guy that was right in the prime spot to fulfill a fantasy he's had all his life.
And that fantasy was a relationship fantasy in which he dominated and killed someone. Mm-hmm. And we're looking at what's going on in his real life now.
And you'll notice that the minute the officer said something to the effect of, well, Lee and whoever else, they were friends for you, right? He jumped on that opportunity to get the hell out of that conversation. He didn't want to keep going down that path of what was that dark fantasy, where did that come from, what'd you do about that? He goes, oh yeah, I had some friends, and he starts talking more about school. This is a person who puts himself, like outside of high school now and post-secondary, you know, he's putting himself in a controlling protector role so that he effectively has created his own in-group. This is someone who didn't find what he needed during that time. He kind of circles back and creates a new reality for himself, a new version from what they are looking at.
Well, it's consistent with delusions of grandeur.
Exactly, yeah.
He's staying away from the killing of the girl and burying in the woods. The fantasy is not coming up. They'll want to bring that up again. He's not bringing it back. Roll the tape.
Can you understand why?
Yeah, I understand it.
We as the police department and the people that here work here and now are looking into this young lady who's missing. Under suspicious, suspicious circumstances, in the sense that she's dropped off the map, not made phone calls to anybody that she normally talks to almost on a daily basis.
Yeah, I understand.
So you understand where we're coming from.
Yeah, I understand.
And now we're getting calls and we're getting contacted by the family who said, you did something to her. I don't know. I don't know you from Adam, but some of these people know you pretty well. To the point that they knew what some of your fantasies were in high school.
Honestly, I never told anyone my fantasies.
Not even your mom?
No.
We knew that the police were going to go back to the fantasy piece, and they did that right away. His now response is, well, I don't know who I said that to. I never told that to anyone. Either they do have someone he told it to, or they've got into a medical file of some type, or an assessment file where that came out of. They're not just making that up, so they're going to now push that further, and he's changed his arms up on the table. This is bothering him, this push with the fantasy issue, and it's going to be the culminating factor that drives him to confess or drives him to get convicted.
Ask you right out, flat out, right now. Do you know where Lea is?
I did nothing to her beyond what I've already said, and honestly, I have no idea where she is.
They're trying to get him to give them something. Well, I think she might have went in this vehicle, or this is where she could have gone. They want him to come up with a parallel story to what he did. They want another one. He's not going to confess probably right away, I don't think, but they're trying to get him to come up with alternatives to what really happened so they can keep breaking him down inch by inch by inch.
When confronted with knowledge of his depraved sexual fantasies, Chris Adam Waide recoils from the truth. In a tactic we've seen him do before, he pivots to a narrative he feels he can control.
What do you suspect happened?
I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened. To me, the most logical things are that she took the advice from my tarot reading beyond the level that I intended, or that she has fallen back into using drugs.
Explain to me how you ended up doing a tarot reading for her.
After I woke her up, I told her I would understand if she didn't want me to do a reading, but that I was offering it to her freely, that there was no form of payment involved. And if she wanted it, she could take it. If not, then okay, we can continue talking about whatever else.
What did she say?
She said that she would have liked me to do the reading.
So from the time you did the reading, and you explained the results to her, from that time till the time she walked out of your apartment, how long?
Maybe 15 minutes, half an hour, after I had completely finished the reading.
So why would she be upset about it?
Honestly, I don't know.
Well, I ask you, what do you think happened to her? Maybe she took the reading that I gave her.
Yeah. And I think she interpreted what I was saying and what the cards were saying as to literally go away and start a new life. Just complete clean slate.
Regardless of what you or I or anyone believes, it's what the person you're interviewing believes that you have to play the game with. Once again, you're role-playing here. You're not telling him that tarot is a bunch of bunk. You're letting him display these cards and show what he interpreted these cards to mean for her, leading around in a circuitous way to maybe she took what I said and left town.
When he's spoken in the past, he speaks and gives information through denial. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. He will probably be doing the same thing with the cards. The cards are saying this, and possibly this is what happened, although, and then take it back, as he has done in the past. He's a person that doesn't want to take responsibility for the actions that have occurred in his life, and especially in this last chapter of his life.
Let's roll the tape.
So,
Your mom was being accusatory towards him.
it seemed to me that she was just really, really worried about Lee. And I get where she was coming from if she was being accusatory, but when she started saying she's missing, I haven't heard from her in 2 days, I started getting worried because I'm the last person to have seen her. It makes sense that I'd be the logical suspect, so it seemed to me the logical thing to do was to get rid of it.
Okay. And what was on the sheets that made you get rid of it?
It was just our hair, bodily fluids.
Was there semen on there?
Yes.
Okay, so when you ejaculated or she orgasmed, was there fluids on the sheets?
Yes.
Okay, was there blood on the sheets?
Maybe a couple of drops from where it rolled off of the pillow.
Okay.
But other than that, no.
Okay, and what did you do with those sheets?
I put them in a garbage bag and I chucked them in the dumpster.
Which dumpster?
Do you remember where my car was? It was the dumpster in that parking lot.
And when did you do that?
Before the police arrived to take my initial statement.
The police have probably already located that dumpster. They've located those sheets. They've probably already tested them, and now they're asking these questions.
Those sheets will have a lot of blood on them. They will. So it's key that they can find them, or if he makes a mistake of telling them where they are, which I don't think he will. I think he's telling them where they're not.
It's possible.
Roll the tape.
When's trash day?
Trash day, I'm not really sure, but I think it's Fridays.
So it would have been the day right after you did that. So that trash is gone?
I believe so, yes.
Do you know what else was with those sheets?
Honestly, I can't think of anything else.
Would you be surprised to know that her cell phone went out with those sheets?
What? Her cell phone?
Her cell phone ended up at the same place the sheets did at the dump.
I do not know. I saw her leave with her cell phone.
How do you know she left with a cell phone?
She picked it up. It was sitting by her purse.
So from the time she gets this notification, as you refer to it, and the time that she walked out the door, how much time?
Maybe 1-2 minutes tops.
So quick.
Yeah, it was fairly quick, and I asked her if everything was okay. She said yes. I didn't really believe her, so I followed her out, and then I saw the truck.
Is it possible that her cell phone was still there, and you went ahead and got rid of it with the sheets because you're thinking somebody's going to track this phone, let me just get rid of it with the sheets?
It's possible.
It'd be pretty hard to miss. I mean,
Yeah,
you gotta
I know that.
So if it was in there, just tell us, hey, I gotta get rid of this phone with the sheets because you're freaking out. And I understand you freaking out.
Yeah.
And now's the time, Chris, that you really need to be honest with us, because scientifically and through the pinging of the phone, we can tell where it was taken to.
Okay.
So was there a phone with the sheets?
This is not the time to try to cover your tracks. This is a time for you to be honest with us.
Love the tactic. This took time. It took a person with very strong personality and somewhat of a narcissist, I think, to some extent. He's able to portray himself as this great individual trying to help people. They just walk him to this point where suddenly they drop the sheets, the phone, boom. The story is now going to unravel. Something has to break here, and if they want to keep pounding on him, he's going to break. They have far more than they're telling him.
We're seeing all of the classic tells in his body language as well. He had that furrowed brow. He actually said, huh? In disbelief. We had the sigh, which we've been getting quite often, and then also self-soothing through his hand on his neck. And now he's looking down, covering his face. This is a person who's at a breaking point.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the right words because I know that I have been untruthful, but I And I'll straight up admit it, it bugs me to hell that I have been. But yes, her phone was with the sheets.
Okay. What else was with that? Phone, sheets, what else?
There was nothing else.
Was she with the phone and the sheets?
No.
Chris, it's time for you to really be honest with us now, because I know this is really hard
She
for you
was
to
not
do.
with the sheets.
Is she lying in the dump somewhere?
God, no. Honestly, I do not know. She left and got into the truck.
Nobody knew where she was at, Chris.
I know that. And
We've got her text messages.
yes,
We've got her phone records. She didn't send anybody a message to say, come and get me up here.
and
We know everybody that she talked to that day.
We have phone records, we have cell tower.
I thought that it was prearranged. Okay, I thought that she had prearranged to have someone pick her up, and then
Chris, this is a place where you need
Yeah,
to tell us
I
what
know.
happened to Lee. This is your one and probably last opportunity to do this voluntarily.
am I being accused of something?
What do you think?
It sounds to me like yes. And I maintain my innocence, but I would like a lawyer.
It took him a real long time to ask that one question. Usually that's one of the first questions that gets asked in an interrogation.
As soon as he realized that they had him and that he was going to be charged, he went right to the Miranda rights, and I'm not talking anymore. I thought he would have done that much earlier, but I believe he's such an arrogant cuss that he thought he could push the police with his story and get away with it. But now that he's realized he's in the corner and has nowhere to go, he's liggling up.
After being brought to the brink of cracking under the pressure from investigators, Chris Adam Waide is back in the interrogation room. However, this time with a lawyer. But something has happened since the last interrogation. Chris's conscience got the better of him.
911.
Yes, I'd like to confess to a murder.
What happened? What is your name?
Christopher Wade.
Could you tell me what happened?
I would rather leave that to them when they get here.
Okay. And you're going to be cooperative with everybody?
Yes. The case is for disappearance of Lea Porter.
One of the things that, and we went and talked to somebody's been watching this interview, and they just wanted, apparently we haven't been clear enough to get the timing down as to how long it actually took her to pass out. So can you try to clarify how long the choking incident went on until she passed out, and how long that you continued to choke her?
I can't say for sure when she passed out, but I think it was probably about 3 or 4 minutes.
So you were choking her for 3 to 4 minutes, roughly?
Roughly, yes.
After she passed out, did you continue to hold on to her for a while?
I didn't realize she had passed out until her muscles relaxed. So I guess the answer to that would have to be yes.
Is Jesse, your roommate, still up there? Is he staying in the apartment?
He's staying in the apartment, but he decided to go and stay with friends.
So is there anybody in there now?
No, there isn't. It's currently locked. My apartment key is on my keychain.
Do cops take that from you when you're picking
Yes.
in here? And I don't remember if I asked you or not, but did you call our police dispatcher?
No, I did not.
Oh, you didn't?
I did not. Someone else called, and then I got on the phone.
Oh, okay. Did you talk to our police dispatcher?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But I did not call.
What did you tell them? I'm sorry.
I told them that I was responsible for her disappearance, that I was willing to cooperate fully and turn myself in.
Would it surprise you that exactly what you said is I would like to confess to a murder?
Obviously, they've had this tape recording of his voice for some time where he's confessed to murdering someone, and they're now bringing that out in front of the lawyer. So they've had evidence on him all along that they were using as holdback evidence, and the lawyer must have had a conversation with him, looked at the evidence that the police were willing to show him at this point, and convinced him to cooperate with law enforcement.
That's not surprising, but...
Why is that not surprising?
It was a very emotionally tense moment.
Is that what you did?
If it's on the recording, then I must have.
That's what you did?
I did not murder her.
So when you came here to speak with us of your own free will, like you said, as you've been speaking to us, your account of what has happened has continued to evolve and change. Is there anything that you haven't told us that you feel you still need to tell us, or something that you've told us that you wish to change?
No, there's nothing else. That's everything, and that is the whole truth.
With his confession, Chris Adam Waide was convicted for a second-degree murder and the sexual exploitation of a child due to imagery found on his computer during the investigation, for a total of 48 years.
It's a testimony to the patience and the diligence of the police department in this case, how they pieced it together and were able to get a conviction even without a body. This was not an easy case to do. You had a person who was extremely difficult to interview, only gave up the pieces he was forced to give, and never really came through with a full, honest confession.
It's quite likely that the motive for this killing has to do with the fact that he's being rejected even by this very needy person who's dependent on him. It goes to his feelings of self-worth and validation, and these have been rejected, and he lashes out.
This is a person who was so impacted by the social isolation that he felt. He described himself in ways that were not congruent with how he actually was and how other people viewed him. This is a situation where a person is so obsessed with this in-group, out-group that he's created these scenarios where he effectively becomes that in-group. With the body not having been found, that's a sense of closure that family and those friends will not have. And knowing what happened in itself is some closure, but the victimization, of course, extends beyond just the victim here.